Hey everyone, just popping in here, and I'm so excited to say that I have been nominated for the second year in a row for Favorite Adult Podcast for a 2024 AVN Award, which is super exciting. I'm super humbled and just really, really gracious and just stoked that some of you guys voted for me and in the pre-nom. So thank you so much. I would really appreciate at this time for your vote. So go ahead and check the links in our show notes below for the voting link. You could vote up to 5 times per day up until the awards on the 27th. And I hope to see you all there at the AVNs. Come say hi and don't be a stranger. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stripped by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I am your host, Steph Sia, aka Kimchi on stage. It is a new year. I don't know if I have any bookings because you heard me bitch about on this podcast about not having bookings. This is another thing. So I don't have any bookings this month, but you can probably see me at some point, probably in February onwards. Plus my schedule's a little bit crazy right now too. So that being said, I am a dancer. I am a adult creator. I'm also a cam model and stream it. You can find me on there. And I was a sugar baby for many years ago. And I do this podcast. If you're here for the first time, this podcast is all about destigmatizing sex work. And I do that by bringing on different guests in the industry from wherever corner of the industry that they're from onto the show to speak about sex work. And so we have a very accurate depiction of what sex work actually is versus all of the stuff that is put out in the media and like TikTok and all the problematic places where people probably are just making assumptions about our lives. So I've been in the show since 2019. Gosh, it's going into 5 years this year at the time of it being released, which is completely wild to me. So I just wanted to first of all say thank you to everyone who has listened, whether you haven't listened in a while and now you're just binging all the episodes, or if you're brand new here, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me, and it's been a wild ass ride, and here we are. This week is no exception. We're talking about rhinoplasty today and talking about specifically getting surgeries done overseas. So I have a fantastic guest who can definitely speak to this today. Stay tuned. I will be announcing them shortly. And if you haven't already kind of peeked on the episode title, you'll already know who it is. But as you know, I got to thank some people, give some shout outs here. And the first batch of people I want to say hello and thank you to are our wonderful Patreon subscribers. Guys, thank you so much. We're going into, year 2 or year 3 going into Patreon. So I'm still surprised that there's so many of you that are subscribed and patrons of the show and wanting to financially help support the show. So thank you so much. People that are on second and third tier get a little fan recognition shout out. So I'm just going to quickly say hello to y'all. We've got Snoo all the way from Germany. We've got Justin Erickson from the US. Same with Geyser, Selena Money. We've got Moxie Mayhem, Eric Rajo, B. York from Seattle. We've got McKenna King, who's in Vegas. We also have Red Door Products. Hello, Dan, all the way from Seattle as well. Thank you so much for supporting the show. It means a lot to me. And if you are curious in becoming a patron, you do get exclusive access to all of the video content that comes live, usually about a week or so before the episode is publicly available. So you can go ahead and check that out on there. There's also some great bonus episodes up on the platform as well. So check out the different tiers. They start at $4 a month. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia. And I'll see you on the other side. For everyone else that's listening too, if you're really invested in adult industry things and podcasts and vidcasts and want to support your favorite creators, you can do that by checking out the network I'm on, which is Skyhawk After Dark TV. As mentioned, lots of other adult creators that have their own show. Everyone has a podcast. Everyone adult has a podcast. Go ahead and support them if you like shows like this. It is Skyhawk After Dark TV. comparative.com. And last but not least, just so you know where your money is going, for those who are financially supporting on Patreon, it is going towards my lovely website, which is strippedbysia.com. Lovingly made by a friend of mine, Anthony Joe, who is a sex worker ally who helps build websites and pages for sex workers. So if you have a website or if you're looking to finally get a website, it's 2024, we have some New Year's resolutions in Tao here. You can go ahead and contact him. It is foxdigital.design and tell him I sent you, because listeners of Strip by Sia get 20% off. You heard that right. So 20% off new builds, or maybe existing, you need a makeover on your website. Go check them out, foxdigital.design. Apologies if you're hearing some coughing or sniffling. It's because I lost my voice yesterday. I don't know what happened, but there is some kind of little bug going around. So apologies if my voice sounds raspy, or maybe you actually like it. Some people say they do like it when I'm sick and my voice is sexier to them. Who knows? But apologies in advance if you hear a bunch of coughing and hacking along the way. So you've all been patient. I do have our lovely guest that's sitting in the waiting room here, waiting for us to start chatting and giving her all the attention today, which I'm super stoked about, because I am not an expert on this topic, which is about rhinoplasty and, you know, getting surgery and work done overseas. So I'm bringing our lovely guest on today, Sirene Rouge, who is an adult entertainer who we've worked together. She's freaking fabulous. She's a spiciest, most fiery, literally fiery, because she does this amazing fire show on stage. Adult creator, suicide girl, occasional cam model, all around cool human being, and does crazy shit. Say hello, Sirene Rouge. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh my god, it's about time. I've been like meaning to have you on the show for a while. I'm like, I need to find a great topic. And when I was doing the whole, I had a whole couple episodes on like uh basically like breast implant surgery and augmentation surgery, and people are like, oh, what about like other forms of plastic surgery, like, you know, rhinoplasty, we've got BBLs. It will be covered. I'm just trying to find the right people for that, but I have found you, and I'm so excited to hear your journey. And also, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable and being so open and transparent about your journey, because some people are like, you know, maybe don't want to talk about it too
They
much.
want their surgeon or like not really talk about it, or especially on social media, people don't want to like admit that they've had work done. But I
Yes.
think that's such a bad and toxic mentality to get into. I feel like people should be more open and honest about like the procedures that we're getting done, and like because of the next generation who's looking up to us, who like sees us, and like it's not attainable unless you have surgery or those just perfect genetics.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so
Like
important.
look how Kylie Jenner
Yes.
grew up.
Good point. I mean, we're gonna learn a lot about procedures and stuff from you today, specifically with rhinoplasty, and you going to Turkey and to get this work done. But before we get into that juicy topic, I did my best in giving you the best hype girl introduction ever, but I tried. But I also want to throw it back to you, Siren, as well. To, I don't know how you view yourself, but if you're wanting to give yourself your own little introduction, now is the time. Feel free to go ahead.
All right. So I am a published alternative model. Like you said, Suicide Girl. I started doing Suicide Girls. Like I signed up the day I turned 18. I was on that fucking website uploading my ID, and I got like accepted shortly thereafter. And then from Suicide Girls, I kind of got into like camming, and this was kind of before OnlyFans. So like Patreon, before Patreon kicked off everyone for being too naked and sexy
Yes.
on there. Um, and then eventually I started like doing the pillow fight competitions at the
Oh my
Fox.
gosh, way
And
back in the
yeah, this is
day.
my first, right? It was like 2019, I think. I did like a pillow fight competition, and then I think I VIP'd like once, maybe twice. And then I kind of disappeared for a few years. And then I came back in like 20, like late 2019, right before the pandemic started.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the way I got started on stage was kind of funny. I didn't like really audition or anything. I just went in with Saffron to the Caddy Shack because it was like day shift
Yeah.
Monday or whatever. A girl didn't show up for her first show, and they're looking at me because I was just coming into VIP, and they're like, "Well, can you dance?" And I was like, "I think so. Like, I'll get up there and do it. And you could be the judge of that." And I got up like, "Do you want to do the full week? Like, this girl hasn't showed up for her first show, and you're here, so why don't you just do the full week?" And I said, "Yeah, for sure." And then the next week, they're like, "Do you want to come back again?" And then I came back like the next week, and
Oh my
then all
gosh.
of a sudden they were like, "Come back again." And I was like, "Okay." And then next thing you know, I'm talking to the agent, and they're like, "Okay, well, let's get you booked here again and again." And that's kind of like I just worked the Caddy Shack until the pandemic
Oh my
really
gosh.
hit, and they were one of the only bars that kind of kept trying to go through the pandemic, and I really appreciated them for that. But yeah, I've been basically a naked sexy lady in some capacity, whether on stage or online, since I was 18, which is crazy. So that's like, I think I did the math the other day. It's like 7 years or something crazy like
Oh my
that.
god.
My whole
That's so wild. I did not know that was your entry, like, in terms of the strip industry and the dancing world. I did not know that. That is so wild.
asked me, they're like, "Oh, how was your amateur contest?" And I was like, "I didn't do that. I kind of just like I think I lucked out pretty hard because then when the pandemic came back, I was just already in their phone list of people to call, and like they were like, "We need people to work right now." And I was like, "I will work. I will work right now."
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's so freaking cool. Because then I'm also curious too. I was like, how did you get started in this? And like, yeah, usually it's like an amateur night situation, and now you can work and work the circuit and all that stuff, which is fun and crazy. But that's really cool. I love that. I love that so much.
It was and luck. And to be honest, when I first like I didn't think that I would be any good at doing stage, and now here I am a few years later, feature entertainer, and I don't know, I'm really proud of
I'm
myself.
also really proud of you. I love hearing your journey because, like, I mean, that's not that long ago. Like, I mean, it's a little bit of a long, like, a little bit, like, but like COVID took out a few years too, in terms of like
I told
dancing.
the pandemic there was like a solid like year or maybe even more that I wasn't really working like the clubs, and I wasn't really doing private parties over COVID
Hmm.
either. So I don't really count that as time that I was dancing. So when I tell people like, "Oh, I've been dancing for like basically like 2 years or something," they're like, "No way." And I'm like, "Okay, well, like I kind of started like with the competitions, like the pillow fighting, which like takes no skill, obviously, and then worked courage to like VIP for like one night, and then disappeared for a while because I had an accident happen. I can't really talk about it right now because I am in legal proceedings, but I kind of like stopped dancing for a while until I felt better about that, and then I came back ready to go 2019, and COVID was like, "Actually, fuck you."
Yeah, COVID did that for a lot of us. And you're like, actually, no. And I don't know what it was like. I remember like when clubs were like kind of like reopening slowly, and they had like, at least at Shakers, they had like the tape that was kind of like by the stage and on the floor, and like you can't cross this area. And like it was really strange. And it closed so early too.
I didn't go to
Mm.
in that era. I
Ah.
was kind of like hanging out at the Caddy Shack more so, and the Caddy Shack they were trying to open with like plexiglass dances,
Mm-hmm.
so like the customer would still sit in the booth seat, but there'd be a huge plexiglass screen in between you, and it's kind of like more like an air
Dance.
like peep show dance, except for they didn't take the lighting into consideration because like the reflection with the lighting in the VIP they could see was themselves. So on your phone flashlight. Otherwise, they couldn't see you on the other side of the plexiglass. It would just reflect
Oh my
them.
god.
And I remember one time, I think the bar staff just organized like a tailgate stripper party, like when the club was still shut down, and they had a bunch of strippers come out and like dance in the back of a truck bed. I was one of them, and people just all the regulars came out and everyone threw money, and like it was a really nice opportunity for people who had been out of work for a long time to like, make some money even though the clubs were still closed. And it was good for everyone to kind of like, see each other and like check in on each other because COVID was unexpected for a lot of
Oh
us.
yeah.
Everyone
And so
really.
isolating too. And it was hard for a lot of
Yeah.
people that I know, whether you're in the industry or not. Like it was a crazy time. I'm so glad that's freaking over. But I mean, yeah, going back to you again, just super proud of your journey, and I've loved watching you grow, and as well as even like at the studio and stuff too. It's been like so amazing and very inspiring to see you continue your craft and mastering your craft. So kudos to
Thank
you.
you. And you inspired me to like start coming back to classes and
Aw.
like going to uh do you say where you work on the
Oh yeah, sure.
podcast?
It's whatever.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Going back to, I don't know how like private you are about like where you work and stuff, but like going to Ava and like I took your class and I was like, I like these classes, but we don't do much like
Like choreography and stuff
I was looking
too.
for like more,
Mm.
yeah, yours is more like choreography and like flow, but I'm like I've always been looking to get my like Aisha down. That's been like my Roman Empire since I started pole dancing. And I finally got it the other day and I literally accidentally just kind of like kicked up into it and I screamed. I was like, "Oh! Oh my god."
I'm here for it.
But you have been very instrumental in like I feel like the last like almost year of me coming there and like working on my skills.
It's shown. It's really been demonstrated. I can't wait to like work with you again too to like see this all on stage too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, this is all great. This also has stuff to do with the topic at hand, which is getting work done overseas. So obviously, like, and this is not just reserved for people in the strip industry, but the adult industry in general. We like to get work done, and it's
Being all angles at every moment, There's no angle that you're safe from.
yes. And we all have reasons for getting work done, but because like obviously our job relies to an extent with our physique, our looks, and stuff too. So it's really important for us to make sure that one, we're taking care of ourselves. Two, we want to enhance features that can hopefully like make us money, but also make us really happy as well. So, I had done some episodes on breast augmentation surgery. This one I do want to pivot and talk about rhinoplasty because yes, I had a lot of people ask me like, well, what about this? What about that? Um, but yes, rhinoplasty, if you don't know what that is, if you're listening, it's basically a nose job. From what I have done with my very light research, yes, and you've got a beautiful nose, I have to say. Like, show it off for all the Patreon subscribers.
Yeah.
Model that nose. Um, it is noses are so like I actually like
Weird.
they're
Those
weird.
are so weird.
Yes. Super weird. I have a Filipino nose. I'm Filipino, so it can be like really flat. Like I don't know if you can see here. But people are very particular about it. And talking about different kind of surgeries I can get, from what I researched, there are two types. To my knowledge, there are, which is open and closed. I think from what I've read online is if you want a specific like shape and you are more specific about like the tip and stuff too, and are looking for, I guess, maybe more complicated cases, then you'd probably go for like an open surgery. There's also closed surgery, which they would kind of navigate with your nose not cut off at the top. But I think that's kind of reserved for more like maybe minor cases, like like a shorter recovery time, etc. But I'm going to throw it back to you because you obviously have done extensive amounts of research done on this topic. But talk to us about surgery, and maybe if you want to go in personally about like why you wanted to get this done as well. I think maybe people would also love to hear your story on that.
Okay, so why I wanted to get it done, I have just always disliked how, like, wide my nose was. I hated it ever since I was probably, like, 11, and I swore to myself that I'm like, one day when I'm older, I'm gonna get a nose job, and it kinda just, like, consumed my thoughts, like, once I started, like, dancing and, like, doing, like OnlyFans and stuff because you're like, "Oh, shit, like, I don't like this angle," or "I don't like this angle of my nose," but, like, "I like this certain angle." So I always told myself that I would get it done, and I finally had the funds to do it. So I started looking into getting it done. At first, I kinda reached out to, like, some people in, like, Miami and, like, LA and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and, like, other surgeons in, like, the US, but they were quoting, like, $10,000 plus, and
Oh my
yeah,
God.
it can be, like, very expensive.
Yeah.
Um, so as well, I find in, like, the US and Canada, they mostly just do, like, bridge work, but what I really wanted was, like, to, like, narrow the tip of my nose because I didn't mind the bridge of my nose, but I had broken my nose in the past as well in, a knee board
Oh
accident.
no.
I, like the knee board flipped around and hit me in the
Oh
face
my
and, like,
God.
right here on the bridge of my nose, and it, like, apparently I didn't know until I got the surgery that it had broken my
Oh
nose,
my
and I
God.
didn't do anything about it as a child,
Right.
right? So I had, like, a small, like, bump on my nose, but it wasn't, like, super noticeable. But from the research that I started doing in Turkey, they focus more on, like the tip work instead of just, like, the
Mm-hmm.
bridge, and I always wanted one of those, like, cute, like, button tip Barbie noses, you know? I think they just specialize in that in Turkey. The more the more natural rhinoplasties I've found are in like the US and Canada, and I told my surgeon, I was like, I want it to be like natural. Like I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh no, she's had like work done.
Mm.
But I didn't want it to be natural that like it didn't make a huge difference. Because I've heard from other girls as well that they got their surgeries done in like the US and Canada and it wasn't as big of a difference as they wanted it to be.
Really? Oh my gosh. Yikes. Okay.
And then you feel like you need to get a revision rhinoplasty if it's not as much as you wanted it to be, and then that oops, sorry, my dog.
It's okay.
Hi, love.
Oh.
She's a bullet train coming up those stairs. Sit. You can where was I? The more natural in Canada, more like Barbie, yeah. So, I decided that to just I just wanted to I only wanted to have the surgery once. So I just wanted to make sure that it was exactly what I wanted it to be, and I was afraid if I went with more natural, I wouldn't be satisfied with the results. Because, like I was saying, it wasn't so much the bridge I wanted done, it was the tip, and that's what I was focusing on.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely. And of course, like when you're undergoing a major surgery, you want to make sure it is like exactly perfect to what
Yeah,
you're freaking paying for. And like, and speaking about like those North American prices, like $10,000 is a lot of money for a lot of folks, right?
it is.
And not to mention like especially in our industry, the recovery time and you being taken out of work for a number of who knows weeks, months, who knows, like you don't have the option to make that money back during that time. So it does take a considerable amount of time
Mhm.
to save up, not only for the surgery, your travel, your accommodations, stuff like that, but also like a bit of extra too, because like you'll have that experience, that loss of income during that time as well. So
And it doesn't matter whether you're a dancer or not, $10,000 is a lot of
it is
money.
a lot of money. It's a lot. It's a big chunk of change, and not everyone can just, that takes some time to save up for a lot of us, right? So it's a
And there's
investment.
so much other things in life that you could be putting that money towards to better yourself in other ways that's like not plastic surgery as well. So I figured like if I could get a doctor who specializes in doing like the tips instead of just like a more natural one and it costs less, like even going from Vancouver to Turkey with the surgery, I took someone with me to like help me
Mm-hmm.
recover. So two people on an airplane and accommodations and like because food is very cheap over there
Yes.
as well. Food and the surgery, it was still like just over half of what it'd been if I went to someone in like Canada or the
Wow,
US.
that's amazing. Yeah, so it's quite a huge savings. So obviously, like economically speaking, that would make a lot of sense. I know, like a lot of people, um, probably share this hesitation, but like a lot of people might take surgery within North America because they might think it's quote unquote better or maybe safer, and like you can still go back to your surgeon here and stuff too. Like, did you have any of those hesitations when you were kind of doing this initial research or anything like that? Or
I think my biggest hesitation was being so far away from the doctor in the healing process because I didn't stay in Turkey for that long. I only stayed in Turkey for like maybe like 7 or 8 days after the surgery. So it's not a long time because obviously you have to wait that amount of time to be able to be cleared to fly
right?
and all of that kind of stuff. And you probably just wouldn't want to fly right after surgery anyways because it's
No.
uncomfortable and your face is all swollen. Like I couldn't open my
Oh
eyes.
my gosh.
It would my whole face just swole up like a balloon. I had to like have help like walking to the bathroom so I didn't like walk into a wall and hit my nose.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff to consider. I mean, like, okay, we're gonna start going into like all the details because I'm a detail nerd, and I'm sure people are also curious about the same things. So basically, and I'll just say, I'll preface this too, because there was a lot of questions that came in, but they were all pretty much the same thing. It was all about like, what's the cost? What about accommodation? What about travel? What about like your insurance? How do you find a good surgeon and a good clinic? So maybe we can start at the top there and talk about, well, first of all, you were finding in your research that, okay, like Turkey specializes in this specific like tip tip reconstruction or like
Nose
nose.
Barbie, they call it.
Yeah, like so
Yeah.
that's what you wanted. So you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna focus on, finding someone in Turkey." How did you go about doing that? And, like, what was your process like in finding a surgeon that specializes in this specific surgery and who is, like, completely vetted? How did you go about even tackling that?
So I had talked to other dancers who had gotten their nose done in Turkey. Maybe like one or two, but that's not a very wide like test group of people to talk to. So I started looking on like Facebook groups. There are like there's so many like turkey rhinoplasty like support groups or just like turkey surgery like in general where people go to post their experiences, reviews of like all these doctors or they go to like ask questions like who has been to this doctor or like it's just a really good community. There's also like WhatsApp group chats that you can join if you're like considering surgery with a certain doctor and talk to other people who are also considering surgery or like things of that nature. So like the WhatsApp group chats and the Facebook is like mostly where I did my research, but then from there, there's websites. I think it's called like Real Self or
Mhm.
something. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's mentioned a lot on the Facebook groups, but it's like reviews of doctors like from patients and like you can look up your doctor's name as well. So there's all these different resources, but you kind of have to be careful because the thing about like Turkish surgeons is like they'll build up this large Instagram following to make
Mhm.
them seem
Legit?
like they are more legit than they maybe are.
Mm.
Um, and they use that as like almost like as experience in a way, like just
Right.
because they have a lot of Instagram followers, maybe they'll start to like charge more, or like just because they have a lot of Instagram followers doesn't mean they're actually a good doctor. Like they could
Yes.
be botching people and just
Yes.
trying to like silence them. So don't just trust like, oh, this doctor has like so many followers,
Mm-hmm.
like I should get my surgery done with them.
Right.
Followers doesn't mean
Shit.
shit.
Yeah.
And I also find that a lot of the doctors are like following, they must be in like little engage like Turkish surgeon engagement groups, because a lot of them are like following each
Oh,
other
weird.
and like commenting on each other's jobs. They're like, good job, nice work, thumbs up, and they're all like liking and commenting on each other's photos. So like
That's wild.
I spot an engagement group when I see
Like, we
one.
know this shit. We know all about these engagement groups. That shit's wild.
Literally.
Oh my gosh. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
it's this whole like like online community even of like doctors and stuff. So I spent probably like at least like 6 months just like researching, and then I had my top 3 doctors,
Mm-hmm.
and within those 6 months, two of them, bad cases started to come out about them, like botching people or whatever. So because a lot of surgeons in Turkey can be like pretty new, and because people are so like attracted by like a low
Mm-hmm.
price, or people who are maybe desperate for an even lower price than it already is, goes to like the newer surgeons, and they get botched. But from my research, I went to Dr. I'm probably gonna like butcher this name, and I'm like so sorry.
It's okay.
It's like Erdem Erdem Kaglar.
Okay. I can't help you
Like
with that
it's
either.
like and basically they call him Dr. Kaglar, which is like it's easier, but I don't know. I'll like send it to you. I'll copy and paste it. I'll send you his Instagram as well if you want to put
Yeah,
that
it'll all be in the
information
show
out there. So
notes. So
I had found the most satisfied reviews from that doctor, and like the most amount of people who posted like after like their before and after photos who were very satisfied had like gone to this doctor on this group.
nice.
And like I had waited a while, like I said, 6 months, just kind of like checking the group every day to be like, okay, like who's posting about their surgery today, is it
Mm.
good, is it bad, like tell me everything.
Wow.
So after that amount of time, and I hadn't really seen anything bad, and like of course there's going to be some people who like aren't happy, and I feel like we're all struggling with some form of
Body
like body
dysmorphia.
dysmorphia to
Mm-hmm.
some degree. And I think like you can't please everyone. And when I went in there, the doctor made sure to like make sure my expectations were in check, because he said that he's like, you specifically, it's going to be harder for me to get your nose like small, like because I wanted like a very very small tip, and it is small for the size that it was before. But he's like, you need to like rein in your expectations because you have thick skin, and
Mm.
like you do have a wide, and there's only so much that we can do
Right.
before it starts to look bad and unnatural, and we don't want to do that to
Mm-hmm.
you. So you kind of have to like rein in your
Right.
expectations, like due to your skin type and what you're already working with.
Mm-hmm.
And like just because you look at a picture from a doctor and it looks amazing, you don't know what that person was really like working with before, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's nose and what they're working with before will affect the final outcome.
That's so important that you said that because, like, sometimes, and we kind of mentioned this in the breast augmentation surgery too, like, there are going to be, like, what I would consider as good doctors, they will tell you the shit to be like, hey, like, this is what we're working with. And everybody is different, you know? Everyone has different parameters that they're working with. Yeah, you
Different
should be
skin
wary
tone.
of doctors that are just like, yes, we can do this for you. It's a yes, 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 yes thing, saying all the things that you want to hear because it makes you feel good and you're like, yeah, like I want to get these results. But like if it's not like a realistic expectation, that can maybe cost more money down the line. There may be a higher chance of your surgery getting botched. Like there's so many other risk factors involved with that. So I'm really glad that your doctor spoke up and said like, this is what we're working with here, you know, manage your
Exactly. And like
expectations.
getting another nose job, they say that your nose isn't fully healed and you're not going to see the final result for about like 8 months to like a year. They say a year to be safe.
Wow.
So you're not going to know what your nose finally looks like for a year. And over the, because my nose just turned 1 year
Yeah.
old. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday, nose.
nose. Um, um, it's changed so much. Like when he first took the cast off of my nose and like held it up in the mirror, I just looked at it and I didn't say anything. And he's like, "You don't like it?" And I was like, "It's really swollen, right?" And he's like, "It's really swollen, and your entire face is gonna swell over the next week, so it's gonna get worse.
Mhm.
So just like keep your cast on, keep the pressure on, and like this is not your final result. This is just kind of showing you like it's not even like when they take the cast off. It's like I don't. Maybe I just swelled extra, but I don't think the cast off is a good representation of what your nose is gonna look
Right.
like after a year because like even sometimes my nose just like gets a little swollen and I'll notice like a few months after surgery, one day it'll be like looking small and snatched and the next day it's just like it's a little puffy and like a
Mm.
little swollen. And I think that all depends on like honestly like your immune system
Right.
and like the foods that you eat and like the
That you
lifestyle that
have.
you live as well. If you have like an inflammatory lifestyle, that is going to affect your surgery.
Wow. Yeah, lots of things to consider here too. And yeah, I will. We will definitely talk more about the healing process in depth in a little bit. Maybe we can dial it back a little bit in terms of like, because usually like if you're here in say Vancouver or wherever you are listening, you would have some kind of consultation process with your doctor or their team at the clinic, obviously ahead of time to see like if this is going to be right for you. Was there any kind of consultation
Ooh.
process or how did that work? Because obviously you're going overseas. Like you can't just like, I'm just gonna go to Turkey and just get the consultation and go home and then fly back. Like it doesn't work that way. So how does
You're
that
just
work?
show up on their doorstep and be like, So I contacted them through Instagram, I believe. And then they gave me their WhatsApp. And so I contacted the doctor's assistant through WhatsApp, and she set up a consultation with the doctor for me. Well, at first, sorry, I sent in my pictures,
Mm,
and they kind of gave me the rundown of like what they thought that I could use. I can tell you exactly what they thought I needed.
sure.
They said, "Hi, Miss Irene. Doctor checked your nose photos. He said that your main deformities,"
Oh
I
my
was like,
god,
okay,
deformity.
ouch, are dorsal butt tip bulbosity, slight, slightly external nasal deviation. It is possible to remove your bump and make your tip more defined and make your nose more symmetrical than its current shape.
Mm,
You are a good candidate to achieve a nice result. And then that's when we booked a video
mm,
consultation, and I actually like spoke to the doctor who was going to be doing the surgery and told him like what exactly I wanted, like what my expectations were. He like got a really good look at my nose. Like I just like basically put the phone really close to my nose and was like, "This is what you're working with." And he's like, "Okay, well, I can tell that you like do have a like a wider, thicker nose, but I can't really tell your skin type until I get you here and like give your nose a little touch, a little
right.
squish." So, um it is important to like, go through it again with the doctor and make sure that you're not just having like one online consultation because
Right.
I also like when I got to Turkey, we had like I think like the day before we had another meeting and then the day of we had another meeting.
Wow.
So it's very he's a busy guy. So
Yeah.
when he like stops doing sleep at night, he's immediately like calling people
Wow.
and doing FaceTimes and like doing consultations and stuff. And you're actually you are talking to the doctor that you're getting surgery with and not just like an assistant because
Right.
I know that sometimes they can just try to like pawn you off onto their
Right.
assistants.
Yeah, no, that's really comforting that you're able to, I mean, have that many consultations and follow-ups and checkups before you actually go into your surgery. So, sorry, going back again. So you had your video call with the surgeon, and then after that, you kind of booked your appointment. You like, did you have to pay a deposit or anything like that, or how did that kind of process work?
So I did have to pay a deposit. The deposit was 200 euros, and they will book your like appointment for whatever day that you want, but they won't like actually confirm that appointment until you send in the deposit. And I used a website called like, I think it's wise.com
Mm-hmm.
to send the money to the doctor through like international wire transfer or whatever. They sent me all of their banking information, etc. And then once they received the deposit, they confirmed my appointment, and then they sent me all of the information that I would need, like the location of the hospital. They sent me a whole list of like hotels near the hospital that I could check out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like a whole list of like different accommodations. Like they're not associated with the accommodations. Like it's not included in the package. Like I know that some
Some places
places
do.
are like associated with hotels
Right.
and they do like packages, like it's included in your
Mm-hmm.
package with the rhinoplasty. But for me personally, the accommodation was not included in the
Mm-hmm.
price. Um, so I could choose like whatever hotel I wanted to stay in, and I wasn't like committed to where they wanted me to stay.
Right. That's awesome. It's good to have some flexibility too, because sometimes I don't know, like sometimes I think with the packages, like there's some kind of like partnership with the hotel. Like, do they get a commission out of that too? Like, how did that work? But
I would like to, I don't think that.
yeah, so that's really cool. So they were able to really help you out and kind of like not handhold you, but like really give you a lot of reassurance and because like that's not only a big surgery, that's also a big trip to take as well. It's long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like there's a language
yeah,
barrier, culture barrier, as well as I wanted to mention in here, you have to get a visa
yes,
to
you do.
enter Turkey.
Hmm.
Um, so it's really easy. You just go on a website. I can't remember what exactly the website is called. If you Google it, you'll find it. It's not that expensive. I believe it's like less than
Yeah.
$50 a person.
Hmm.
And you just need to make sure that you have your visas when you go
Yes.
there because they will be
Yes, they will
asking.
definitely be asking you, and Turkish officials will not fuck around. So, and of course, I know there's a lot of people that listen to
Yeah.
the show from all around the world. So, that might just be the price for Canadians and North Americans. So, make sure you just do your research online if you are out of North America as well, because different costs for different countries, unfortunately. So yeah, so this happened, and then I guess you'd have to go look into purchasing your flights, yeah, your accommodations as well. Were those particularly expensive? I know like flights to Turkey are not exactly cheap.
The flights, they were about like 1,200 ish a person.
Mhm.
So like not great,
Yeah.
but not terrible.
Average-ish.
And that was like it was pretty
Mhm.
average for like going that far from Vancouver to I my surgery was in
Mhm.
Istanbul. Um so I don't know, I would say that's like pretty average, and like I was saying, even for like two people to go, I believe the accommodations for the time that I was there, which was like I think it was 10 or 11 days.
Mhm.
I think the accommodation was only like less than 500 like Canadian
Oh my god,
dollars. It was
amazing.
really
That's so cheap.
like the hotels there are like
Nice.
pretty cheap, but
Yeah.
that's because their dollar in comparison to ours is not
Yeah.
fantastic, right? And that's why all the food is like pretty cheap when you go, but the
Yes.
food is delicious
So
though.
good.
Delicious.
So good.
So is go there early, eat as much as you can, get all the flavors and stuff in because after your rhinoplasty, the
Yeah.
flavors are going to be kind of messed up because a
Right.
lot of your senses come through your nose. You're going to have plugs in your nose and you're not really going to be able to enjoy eating because your face is going to be swollen, your nose is going to be sensitive. Chewing kind of feels like a little weird. Like I preferred to eat like soups and like smoothies after my surgery and like squishy things.
Soft
So
things.
my recommendation is go a day or two early and experience Turkey before your surgery because it is a beautiful place
Yes.
and everyone there was like so amazing and kind, and like you would check out like the bazaars and they have
Yes.
all these like different like little like it's almost like a ma and pa owned shops, like, all down the streets, and you'd go in there to shop, and they would, like, offer you tea, and they wanna sit down and have a conversation with you, like, "Oh, where are you from? Where are you going?" And they're just really friendly people, like, the food is amazing. I felt very safe
Yeah.
being there, although I was there with a man, but in the times that I was alone, I did feel very safe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would just say, like, go a day or 2 early
Yeah.
and just, like, even just walk around
Yeah.
and explore, see what it has to offer. So
Yeah, would recommend as well. I love Turkey. Like at least go a day or two because even the Turkish hammams are great. Like the Blue Mosque,
yeah,
Sophia, like the other mosque that's also really big, Sophia something. I can't remember. It's been a few years. And the food is
yeah,
absolutely incredible. Like lots of things to experience, and the shopping is pretty crazy too. So yeah, and that's a good thing you mentioned that too in terms of like your olfactory senses are pretty much like out the door.
yeah,
I totally forgot about that.
literally, 'cause you like, for the first, week after surgery, you have, like, these, like they're almost like earplugs in your nose. That's kinda what it feels like, and so you can't breathe out of your nose, you become a mouth breather, your mouth gets so dry. I would recommend if you have, like what are those it's like a medication you can use to, like, salivate your mouth because you're breathing through your mouth
All the
all the
time.
time, your mouth is gonna get super dry, it's gonna be really uncomfortable. I recommend, to be honest, like, taping, like, the center of your lips shut to try and keep your mouth just, like, a little closed when you're asleep so you don't wake up
Oh.
and feel like your mouth is the Sahara Desert. Like, I touched my tongue when I woke up, it was literally
Oh
dry.
my
It was
god.
dry.
It's like
It was really
sandpaper.
bad.
Oh my god, yeah, it's
I
rough.
also wanted to mention that, like, I was considering getting, like, an upper eyelid blepharoplasty. I
Oh,
didn't end up doing it, but, it's something that the surgeon offers as well.
cool.
It was only an extra 1,000 euros,
Mm,
where in here, I looked it up, it's like I can't remember how much it is, but it's quite expensive for, like, the blepharoplasties here
wow.
in Vancouver. I can't remember the exact price, but, like, $1,000 to, like, a few $1,000s is a
That is a
lot,
lot.
but at the end of the day, I just considered I was like, "I am already getting one thing done. I don't wanna, like, suffer more than I have to."
Yeah.
And I felt like I had already seen pictures of girls who have gotten their nose done whose, like, their eyes swell shut,
Oh,
and I'm like, "Do I
wow.
wanna have, like, scars on my eyes as well as a nose job?" Because, like, the upper blepharoplasty, they take, like, skin from your eyelids. And I was like, I feel like it just might
A
be
lot.
too much of a sensory experience for me because 'cause I'm a big sensory experience person. I feel
Totally.
like it would have just been, like,
Too
too
much.
much,
Yeah.
um, with all the swelling and everything, and then adding extra swelling to the eyes. Like, I already couldn't open my eyes for, like, almost a full day because the swelling was so bad. I couldn't imagine if I got surgery on my eyes as
Oh my
well, how long I
god.
would be able to open my eyes for.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that's intense. That can be a lot. But I also understand like the surgeon's point of view too. Like, well, you're already here. Like, your entire face is gonna be swollen. Might as well like add on another thing. So I understand that.
And because of the right? So because you're already under the anesthesia,
Mhm.
they don't have to charge you additional anesthesia
True.
like price because anesthesia is very expensive. Like a
Yes.
large part of your
Is
surgery is the
anesthesia.
anesthetician.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
because
crazy.
like they have to have someone like monitoring you to make sure that you're not like dying.
Yeah.
Someone who's like certified to like inject the anesthesia and like because it's like you could die under anesthesia. It's
It's
scary.
powerful stuff, yeah. So, I mean, talking about, like, your surgery too, I'm sorry that we keep flip-flopping, but my brain is also very wonky today as well. But,
Oh, me too. It's almost Christmas, so we're all brain fried.
like, talking about, like, the actual surgery and, like, the day of, was there any kind of prep that you had to do, for the surgery? There's, like, some I don't know, again, I don't know anything about rhinoplasty at all, but, like, do you have to, like, drink water or, like, do a certain thing, or it's just, like, you show up and you're, like, ready to go, or what was that like?
Okay, so months before, I had quit vaping and, like, smoking
Mhm.
and stuff like that because they recommend for like your healing journey and everything. When you smoke, your tissue doesn't heal as fast.
Mhm.
So I just preemptively quit smoking. Also, going under anesthesia, like it's another risk is like being a smoker and going under anesthesia.
Right.
So I quit vaping because that was a big thing for me. I know we're all hooked on the vapes these days. Um, so I started like prepping for my surgery like months in advance in that way, but
Mhm.
like the day before, basically they say 12 hours before your surgery, don't eat or drink anything, like not even water,
Oh, wow.
nothing. So you go in on the day of your surgery and you are thirsty and you are hungry and you kind of like don't feel great because I don't know about you, but like I gotta
I gotta
eat.
eat, yeah.
And if I'm not eating, I'm not eating.
Yeah.
So like going 12 hours without eating is like that's a
It's a
lot.
long time.
So I think I stopped eating and drinking at like midnight the day before, and then at noon was my surgery the next day. So I went in hungry and thirsty, and I like when you wake up from surgery, you are very very thirsty. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but me personally, I was very thirsty because I don't even know how long I was like unconscious for. And they're like shoving all these like tubes and stuff down your throat, and you haven't had water for 12 hours.
Oh my
And so
god.
you wake up and you're like begging them for water. You're like, please, can I have water? Like, please, can I have water?
Oh my god.
No, you can't have any water. You can't have water for like a few hours after surgery just in case you like throw up because
Okay.
it would mess you up. When you're throwing, when you throw up so hard you throw up out your
Yep.
nose?
Yep. So,
They
yeah, that
don't
could be a
want that.
risk. Gotcha.
So they don't want anything in your stomach whatsoever, so you don't have the chance of throwing up
Yeah. There'll be
anything.
nothing to throw up.
So
Right.
you kind of just have to like sit there and just honestly kind of little suffer a little bit and just suck it up and be really thirsty and really hungry, and eventually they will come in and bring you food like for dinner,
Mhm. Wow.
but it's I didn't feel super terrible like immediately following the surgery.
Mhm.
I felt pretty okay.
Mhm.
It was the next day when I was like, I feel like I got hit in the face by a bus.
Oh my god, I bet. And I remember like when you were posting some stories on like I think it was like TikTok or Instagram or something. I was like, "Holy shit, this is
Like
wild."
mega chipmunk.
Yeah, I was like, "Holy crap." But yeah, of course, like your body is like trying
Like
to
two
heal.
black eyes.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it was. It was. It's like look you got beat up, which is crazy.
Yeah. But the nose, to be honest, like the nose itself wasn't that painful. I think the swelling was causing most of my pain. And they do give you pain medication. It's not anything like very strong, but they do give you pain medication. And then they also give you an antibacterial like a cream or an ointment, sorry,
Mhm.
to like put on your nose and stuff. So you got to put that on your nose
Wow. Ques
for like immediately following surgery.
Question for you. So, like, are you like, how long are you bandaged for? Or is it like, is it right after the surgery, then they like unwrap you after dinner kind of thing? Or like, how does that timeline work?
So you have your first bandage on for a week. You have your surgery, and then you're supposed to stay in Turkey, obviously, for a week, so the doctor can check you and then clear you to fly. And so at the end of that week, he'll take the cast off, check on everything, and that's kind of your first look at what your nose kind of
Looks
looks like.
like.
And there's a lot of, like I was seeing in those Facebook groups, there's a lot of people who got their cast off and immediately come to the Facebook group and like they're posting like, I have so much regret. This is not what I wanted. Blah 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 blah.
Oh.
And everyone's like, babe, wait like 6 months to a year and come back to us. And then they'll post a few months later, and be like, actually, it's not as bad as I thought. So like immediate scare factor after where you're like, did I fuck up? Like, did I make an oh no? Like,
Yeah, that's scary.
so yeah.
And I'm really glad that you had someone there because, like, I mean, like, you probably can't even really see that well. Yeah, your senses are all like fucked up.
going out to get food, like, I didn't really wanna leave the hotel room for the first few days. I would say, like, the first 2, maybe, like, 3 days, I didn't really leave the hotel room at all.
Mhm.
Um, I had my food being brought to me and everything, and, like, you're not supposed to shower
Oh,
either. You're not
wow.
allowed to shower. Well, like, you can, like, kinda, like, wash
Like
yourself, but you
around.
can't, like, go in a shower because you're gonna get your cast wet,
Right.
right? So you can kinda, like, bird bath yourself and stuff to stay, like,
Fresh.
hygienic,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's no washing your face, though, like, you cannot wash your face.
Right.
I basically didn't wash my face for 2 weeks, it was pretty
Oh my
greasy.
gosh.
Yeah, like I was saying, the cast, getting back to the cast, circling back around, you have your first cast on for about 7 days, and then when you leave Turkey or after the 7th day or whatever, they put another cast back on, and then they tell you to leave it on for, like 7 plus days. They're like, "The longer that you can keep this cast on,
The better.
the better. Just keep it on your face.
Mm.
Like, don't get it wet, don't get it moist." But I'm kind of like a sweaty person, so it came off, like, I think, like, on the 6th day or something,
Wow.
and I messaged them, I was like, "The cast, it's not staying on, it's coming off my face, is that okay?" And they're like, "That's fine, we just recommend longer just to be safe."
Right.
So, it's about, like, 2 weeks, give or take, that you have the cast on.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying at first and feels like you have this foreign thing on your face, but after a while, you do just kinda get used to it.
Mhm. Mhm. Then after that, like, once you're able to get the cast off, or I guess it just comes off because natural sweating and oils and stuff like that, but, like, how do you maintain the
Yeah.
healing process and recovery and stuff too and prevent from, like, infection and stuff like that?
So they give you this, saline solution that you kinda, like, you squirt up your nose, and, sorry, I forgot to mention, when you get your 2nd cast, you get a different set of nose plugs. It's
Oh.
more like a retainer this time
Mhm.
with holes in it, so it more just helps to keep the shape of your nose, but you can breathe through it.
Mm.
Instead of, like, the earplug ones that they had up your nose the first 7 days where you couldn't breathe at all, you get that kind of retainer, they'll fit it to your nose, so don't lose it. I had to take a retainer back to Canada for another girl because they won't ship you another retainer,
Oh my gosh.
because it's just, I don't know why they won't ship you another retainer, but I was connected with this girl because they're like, "Oh, you're from Canada there? There's a girl in Canada who, like, needs a retainer because she lost hers. Her mom, like, flushed it down the toilet or
No. Oh
something.
my
So, like,
gosh.
can you take this back to Canada and she'll pay you to send it to her because they're just like, we're not dealing with that.
Mm.
And so I did. I took that retainer back to Canada and
Right.
shipped it off for her. I got in
Wow.
contact with her.
Oh my gosh, that's
But
smart.
we also have that that antibacterial gel stuff,
Mhm.
ointment that you have to, like, put on the inside of your nose as well.
Mhm.
So there's saline, the anti
Whatever it
whatever
is,
ointment.
yeah.
Um, yeah, antibacterial ointment,
Right.
antibiotic ointment, there you go.
No,
Sorry.
you're all good.
Um, and then, like, the nose retainer as well as, when you take your 2nd cast off, you're gonna start nose taping.
Okay. So, like, taping the bridge of your nose or, like, around or, like, how did that work? I'm sure they would probably show you how to do that, but that's something you have to do yourself.
Yeah, so they show you before you leave, and they give you tape as well to take home with you. I ended up, like, going and buying more tape because they recommend that you do it for the first, like, few months at least
Mm.
after surgery is nose taping.
Wow.
So you kinda, like, you take the tape and you wrap it from, like, this part of your nose around to this part of your nose,
Mm.
and I usually do, like, 2 layers to kinda, like, give it that,
Keep it in place.
I don't know, it's like it's, yeah, keep it in
Yeah.
place, and then after that, you place tape across the bridge to kinda keep it compressed and down, and so it's funny because I still face tape sometimes. I put some on last night.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. So, wow, that's a lot. So, I guess in total, like how long would you say this healing recovery process is? And I'm sure it would kind of vary from person to person, but like generally speaking, how long are we looking at for recovery? Because again, like preventing you from working and stuff too, because obviously it's your face that we're dealing with. But to give people's heads up.
And because you just opened all those blood vessels and things, and there's stuff in your nose that's just been cauterized, and they basically just took a chisel to the bridge of your nose and shaved it down.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of healing that goes into that, and they recommend at least 2 weeks with like no exercise
Mm,
whatsoever. And then I believe at the 4 week mark, you can do light
right.
exercise because you don't want to get your blood pumping and flowing too hard and potentially like break one of those like blood
Ooh.
vessels, that kind of stuff, you
Right.
know?
That makes sense.
So for me personally, I took like a month and a half off of stage because I don't know the definition of slow down.
You and me both.
Just I I just figured I'm like I won't be able to like be chill enough
Hmm.
to go back on stage.
Hmm.
So I had to go back early.
Mm.
Well, I went back to like VIPing earlier than I wanted to, only because OnlyFans was dicking me
Oh,
around with
yeah,
their
the
like
payout
payout
thing.
system.
I remember that happening to you too. That was like, fuck. That's annoying.
Yeah, so like financially, like that kind of like fucked me because in my head I was like, okay, like I have the surgery and everything paid off, and like I have like a few $1,000s in my OnlyFans, and like a few days before I was supposed to leave for Turkey, I tried to pull it out, wouldn't
Oh my
work, and the
god.
entire time I was in Turkey, I was trying to pull it out, and it wasn't working,
Fuck.
and I was like, oh, man, like everything's already like paid for, but like I had like been fundraising on my OnlyFans to specifically take this time
Yeah.
off, and like I was going to like continue to like survive off of like my OnlyFans money as well because like paying my rent, paying off my credit cards, paying my bills of all variety
Yeah.
as well as like groceries and stuff, like my budget really included all that money that was stored on my
Right.
OnlyFans. And like there was like dollars on there that I couldn't
Oh
access.
my gosh.
And so point where I was like, well, I'm kind of like running out of savings because I haven't been going to work for a
Yeah.
month, and everything that I've been planning to pay with my OnlyFans money, I can't pay with my OnlyFans money because they're not giving it to
Oh
me.
my god.
So I went to work. I think I started like I cammed a few times
Mhm.
before I went back to VIPing just because I thought like camming is really easy. I can just sit
Yeah.
there and like look pretty and like dill myself. It's not that like high
Yeah.
intensity. Um, and then after like a maybe like 2 weeks of doing that, I felt good enough to like start going back into the club. But my concern was like
Yeah.
accidents of like someone like bumping my nose or something
Yeah.
because like I accidentally like right after my surgery, right after I took off my cast, like literally I think it was like the day or the day after, I had to take my dog to the vet, and I was holding her. She's a big girl, and the doctor was kind of like bent over and like checking
Yeah.
her, and he just completely elbowed me back in
Oh,
the nose, like
fuck.
straight up, and
No.
like it started bleeding, and I was
Oh my
crying, and I was
god.
like, "If you fucked up my nose, buddy, I'm gonna have a
Yeah,
problem."
totally.
And fortunately, like, I don't think there was any, like, complications from that
Yeah.
other than it just really hurt.
Yeah,
But after that, I was really defensive of people.
totally.
I'm like, "Get out of my personal space.
Yeah.
Get away from my face," or even, like, throwing the ball for my
Yeah.
dog. Like, she, like, bounce throws where I just bounce it on the ground and it goes up in the air and she jumps and catches it, not like the long throws,
Yeah.
and I was afraid that I was gonna bounce it wrong and get, like, a ball to the face and fuck up my
Oh my
nose.
god. Yeah, you have every right to be, like, really scared and, like, defensive and just like, "I don't wanna fuck this up." Like, this is, again, a huge chunk of
I
change and
almost ordered myself a hockey mask because I was like, "I need to protect my asset."
Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, it's quite the journey. Like, Siren, this is crazy. Like, I didn't know there was so much. I mean, I had an idea, but this is like you going into detail about everything has been very, very eye opening, not only for myself, but I'm sure for a lot of folks listening and perhaps considering this procedure getting done. So, I mean, this has been very, very informative, and I'm sure a lot of people would also agree as well. But I mean, your nose looks fantastic. It's just had its 1 year birthday, which is so lovely. And you obviously look very happy with the end result and product. And I guess, like, unless there's anything else that you wanted to add in, like, would this be something you'd recommend to folks and something you would do again in another life?
Well, for me personally, it's one of the best things I've probably ever done in my life. I It's improved my self-confidence a lot. Like, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like, obviously, like, not get another nose job, but like if I hadn't done it, I would I would do it in a heartbeat. But it is like it might not be for everyone,
Hmm.
and you should do your research because it could it could be a dream or it could be a nightmare, but you just really have to put a lot of thought and time and effort into it. And like just because someone you know goes to a doctor doesn't mean they're a good doctor. Like do your own research.
Yes.
Like maybe in the time since my nose job there's been something that's come out about my doctor. Like you never
Yes.
know because I stopped doing research. So like even though I recommend this doctor and he did good for me, do your own research. At the end of
Hmm.
the day, do your own and don't just trust what other people have to say.
Yeah, again, because this is like a very, very complicated, can be kind of complicated procedure. And as you mentioned, like things can change. Maybe he's like getting lazy now too. Like who knows? Like who knows what can happen? Just make
Or
sure.
maybe he's taking on too much liquor and getting tired and sloppy, you know?
Yeah,
So,
you never
and
know.
like just because he's done like a good nose on someone you know doesn't mean he's done a lot of other good work. Like there's good and there's bad with everything, and obviously people like you're gonna have people who aren't happy at the end of the day, like who maybe don't have their expectations in place, or maybe they did get botched. And I think doing surgery, there's a chance that it could happen. Like,
100%.
you know, you're playing with all sorts of different factors, everyone's like pre-existing conditions, and also how like they take care of their nose in the aftermath.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors to like look into, and you're like, okay, well, is this like a botched surgery or did you not take care of yourself,
Right.
like, or take care of your nose or
Yeah.
whatever? So
That's a
just research, 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 and if you have an eye on on a doctor, for me, I picked out top 3 and I watched them like a hawk for like 6
yeah.
months. And I googled their names every day in like the Facebook groups and the WhatsApp groups and the real self doctor reviews and everything, and just research, research,
yeah.
research. But I'm very happy with mine. I would do it again in a heartbeat. It makes me feel so much better about myself, to be honest. I
Yay.
don't know, like, everyone was telling me, "Don't get a nose job," like, everyone was trying to convince me out of it,
Mhm.
but I was like, "No, like, this is what I want,"
Yeah.
and, like, I did it, like, for myself. I don't think I was doing it really for anyone else. Like, I wasn't thinking like, "Oh, this is gonna, like, get me more work in any way," but I was just thinking, I'm like, "I think that my confidence will come through more
Oh, yeah.
if I get this done."
For sure. And whatever reasons you want to do, you can get something done for sure. But again, at the end of the day, just making sure that you are making
Do it for
an
yourself.
informed decision. Informed decision is all we're asking for. And and yeah, I will be posting all the links that Siren has mentioned here, as well as her surgeon, the clinic she was at, and whatever else.
I
But
miss
I mean,
so much.
it's a lot of information. But I'm sure people again are finding this super useful. But in case people want to reach out to you, Siren, where can they find you?
My Instagram is siren_rouge_SG. You can find all of my other links through there. Instagram is kind of like where I'm the most active. Yeah.
Cool, cool. And I usually there is like a Q&A at the end, but again, most of the questions were everything that you already answered. But I just want to quickly say before we close things out, um, somebody named Marilyn says, "Tell her I love her," and Jordy says, How do you deal with being so sexy?"
How do I deal? It's very hard. It's a hard job. I'm just doing the Lord's work. Someone's got to do it.
Siren, it was so much fun having you on the show. I'm so glad that we were finally able to do this, and again for you to really share your vulnerable journey with rhinoplasty in Turkey. So thank you again. And for everyone else that's listening at home, it's new episodes every single Sunday, dropping at midnight Pacific Standard Time, and you can listen on any major podcast platform. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, I would love to ask you to rate 5 stars if that is if you find that this podcast is useful. I mean, after all, it's free. And if you want to write a review, that'd be awesome. I read all of them. And don't forget, patreon.com/strippedbysia. Follow my new podcast account on Instagram. It's Stripped by Sia Podcast. But you can find me mostly on X, aka Twitter, whatever what is called now. Stripped by Sia. And if you want to be on the show, it's strippedbysia.com. Just fill out the contact form there, but make sure you're not just filling it out so that you want to be on the show, but filling it out with like why you want to be on the show, your topic of choice, etc., etc. Because we're going to start looking for people for season 7 shortly. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you all in for another episode next week. Thank you so much, Siren. It's a pleasure having you on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You're listening to Stripped by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia, music by Ted D, graphic design by Maria Bellanderama, and photography by Ian Dabrin. Are you going to be at X3 or XBiz LA this year? It is award season, so you know what? Everyone who is somebody and who wants to be is going to be in town in Los Angeles collaborating. And of course, you want to ensure that you're doing this safely. So, courtesy of Sage Health, located in Van Nuys, California, we are offering $15 off your test this winter. Use code STRIPPEDBYSIA to get $15 off. We'll see you in person, and happy testing!